preparations for this as well. Yeah. Well, from what you have seen, and we are on the second day of the admissions, where are we as a country from where you sit?
Send positive vibes first as the host. Why? Parents, students, and all that, you're in school, start learning. Parents, congratulations for those who have been able to take their young ones to school. The ones who are still at home, we hope that the CS is taking decisive actions as we speak now, so that each and every one of them get placed appropriately. So the confusions which have been there and all, and as we said, we discussed this, how are the preparations being done. Some of these things, what we say, you require a lot of piloting ahead of things, like these automated placements. You know, the automated placements which somehow ignored the preferences of some candidates. And so they felt like, but we qualified to go to this, and how come we are not there? And then the response of, we only have a fixed number of slots. But then you should be asking yourself, why is it that they are just angling towards certain schools? So the other aspect of preparations, we said it's because of the infrastructure. Because when they know the infrastructure there to facilitate senior school learning, many would like to go to those. Those are well-established schools. They have been known to perform. They have teachers. They have laboratories. They have workshops. And so with CBC, which requires such kind of infrastructure and supporting tools, they would prefer to be there. So when you saw, right even from the time they are making pre-selection, that where would you like to be? 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 12. And they did not mention about some 3,000. It's because they were looking at those infrastructure. So where we are, let's encourage those who have landed spaces, those who are still on the way to get there. There must be none that is left behind, whatever it takes. So Migos Ogamba CS, the responsibility bestowed upon you by the Basic Education Act, Section 29, is to ensure that every child is in school and learning. And with this grade 10, let this transition not end up pouring some out of school, so that we have out of school children increasing. Let's ensure that 100% transition is not just rhetoric, but is actualized by looking and mopping out wherever they are, ensuring that they are in school. And two, address the things which have caused the headache, the mayhem here. Actually, that automation, whoever did that, and that did not work as per the expectation, those are standards of CBC, they should just quick audit of that just to ensure what happened, what went wrong. But most significantly, the reasons as to why the students failed to select some of those 3,000 schools, which as we speak also now have students, meaning they are selected against their choice. So it's because of the infrastructure. Can you ensure that some priority and rapid decisive action is taken at this moment, within this year, so that we don't carry this forth to grade 11 and grade 12. And as we think of that, can you ensure also that, because you can walk and chew gum, you have all the experts within your department, you have all those people who can help you. Can you walk and chew gum by also thinking, how are they transitioning to the universities and TVETs after, in 2029? Because that is very, very important. Right. If we wait until that time, is when you start running left and center, then it will be too late. You'll be having a situation like what now is bedeviling us. Indeed, it's a good thing that you've mentioned some of the things, and you've also answered some of the questions that I had. And of course, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's a good summary, because at the end of the day, we will also ask the question ourselves: what happens to those who are not placed? And of course, the Constitution and the Act, the Education Act, mentioned that
no one should be left behind. Let's look at the Kenya Private Schools Association. From where you sit as private, we don't expect so many challenges in the private school as we are experiencing in the public schools. I do remember when we were transiting from the 844 now to CBC, there were a number of challenges. Yes. And also in 2003, when we had free primary education, we had a number of challenges here and there, but they were ironed out. From where you sit, and the way you have seen the placement and yesterday the new pupils joining schools, where you sit, how has the transition been?
Thank you so much. First, let me start by introducing who we are. Yes. I'm Rosette from Kenya Private Schools Association. And Kenya Private Schools Association is a representative body of all private basic education institutions in the country. And as an association, we work together with education stakeholders to just ensure that we provide quality, equity, and innovation in education. So our goal really is to ensure that we contribute largely to the national development. Going back to the current placement, maybe to just let us know that we still have an issue in the public's domain where people or the parents have not understood what clustering really is. Probably this is a contribution to less or poor sensitization among the parents, because just like my partner here has said, we still have parents who are missing out in specific schools. And we ask, what exactly is CBC speaking about as regards to these schools? These schools are never supposed to be national, county, extra-county, or sub-county schools. They were supposed to be pathways institutions where children then transition to the pathway of their preference. But we realize parents are still rushing to go to the traditional elite schools that were perceived to be better than others. However, as private schools, we're coming to offer a solution and an option for the public because looking at the private schools, we also do offer all the clusters just like the public counterpart. We have the cluster 1, the cluster 2, and all the way to cluster 4. So we do not expect that parents should be confused because a parent is asking, I got a 67. Why is my child going to a cluster 4 school? And another one got 50. Why is he going to a cluster 1 school? Really, the parents need to be sensitized and informed that the choice or placement is based on competence and achievement in the subject combination and not in the aggregate points. So I think it is important that this sensitization goes out there to ensure that all children settle in school.
Yeah, and still on the same, how well were the private schools consulted in regards to designing the placement framework?
I can say yes, the private schools were there from the beginning. They were fully consulted because like I introduced myself that we work together with the government to just ensure that we provide quality education. So we were fully involved as an association to be part and partake in the whole conversation around the policies and the framework. Even as we speak today, the government and Kenya Private Schools Association are working together to ensure that children from private schools are also input or part of the portal of the selection and the placement portal. So yes, we were full.
Boaz, picking from where Rose has left and looking at the infrastructure, you did mention something in regards to ensuring that we have sufficient resources and infrastructure as well. Does the country have these resources to ensure that education is not only available for everyone, but there's equity, just like Rose has mentioned?
Thank you, and thanks, Rose, to the work that private schools are doing or offering, the services they're offering, indeed, in terms of employment and then placement of our children. And of course, in any space like Kenya, you have a space. But from the Elimu Bora standpoint, why we always anchor heavily on the public education is because that is where all the low income and almost, the children from the very underprivileged categories will get a home. And in this case, I think you'll find many of them not able to get any funds to go into the private thing because For indeed, why do you think the private institutions are thriving? The resources they collect, they apply them appropriately. They ensure that the infrastructure are done. Like many of the children who have gone through their JSS, at least have been exposed to the laboratories and the workshops and all. And I think, I don't know whether it was here where I had remarked some 2 or so years ago that this system provided the leakage to the private schools, because when we were still struggling, will the JSS be domiciled in secondary or primary?
Yeah.
They were already constructing laboratories in primary school, and I see that was leakage. But that is what forward planning means.
Yeah.
I think they were doing it just in case, whichever it lands, but because the resources were there. So back to the question you're asking. For us to do what they're doing in the private schools, it means resources must be made available, but accountably also used. Ben, right now we have 702 billion Kenya shillings, 2025, 2026. That is a budget given to education. That is a lot of money. That is a lot of money. If well utilized, of course, take the 300 billion to TSC for the teachers and all that manpower, you still remain with a lot of money. Are we applying it appropriately? What is the vote for the infrastructure doing? How is the supporting? By the way, when I say 703, I've not even included the component that is coming through the CDF. The NGCDF, you know, I also had the component of constructing school, classrooms, and all this, including the laboratories we were crying foul about. They said the NGCDF would take lead in helping schools, public schools, to construct those. So I'm saying there's a lot of money that is in education. In terms of prioritizing what to use it on, that is where I think the rain starts beating us. Can we ensure that the monies, one, we apply them appropriately as per the vote heads? If it is infrastructure, we also do not inflate the figures in terms of tendering, because we know what 1 million shillings can do. And if you do what only 200,000 can do with 1 million shillings, comparatively, go to private school and then the public school, you find 200,000 and 1 million this side, that they're doing almost same stuff. There's something completely wrong. If you get that even the tools that we use for the laboratories and all that are exaggerated in cost, then there's something completely wrong. But I'm picking on those to tell you that there should be a regulatory mechanism that must be enforced by the government. The cabinet secretary is the chief enforcement officer. And that's why the president, we appeal to the president to always be very careful before appointing people to certain positions. Because if you appoint a cabinet secretary that feel like he's been thrown to the deep waters and is panting and trying to remain afloat, then you know you're not getting the right remedy for the problems in education. So get competent people, but give them also the power to execute. But where they are not able to, fire them. The buck stops with the president. So for us, you see us saying, if things are wrong, even in a classroom, I'll spare that head teacher. I'll spare the county director of education. I'll spare Migos. I'll spare Bitok. I'll ask President Ruto, you got the mandate of Kenya. These are your officers. These are your messengers to help you execute. Put them back to order and ensure that work is being done in schools. Please do not allow for excuses. Because, for example, when this issue of the placements was supposed to be done, who didn't know that, one, you require to give clear, concise, but simple bits of information to the stakeholders, starting with the students themselves, their parents, and also that they are with you working. You do not wait until there's hue and cry and when you come to respond, but you also respond in a generalized term. Is it that you are unable to have a spokesperson within the Ministry of Education to deal with this? We thought the chief spokesperson within the ministry is the CS himself or herself, in case a female one is appointed. If that is not happening, can you create a communication department that constantly engages the public? Because with that, then the whole country would be with you in terms of understanding how we have transitioned from 844 to where we are now, CBC, and where we are transitioning from primary to JS, and now from JS to senior school with minimum questions. The multiplicity of questions and the perspectives being given, it's because people are lost there. So can we have an organized way of giving communication? Take the example of the school fees. Up to today, the circular that was issued, which was directing the schools that, oh, do not overcharge, follow these guidelines. And you said those guidelines, according to the 2015 circular that was released, they categorized schools. You remember? They categorized the day schools, and the day schools were also in the sub-county, then county, extra county, and then the national. But Munavu report and the pronouncement of the president, it was clear through the CBC that we do not want the categorization. How come then, when you're saying the fees would be determined using that circular categorized? So you are giving people the opportunity to raise fees without saying it. Because if you say now all schools will be uniform and the maximum that will be paid is 53, even those schools that were charging 43,000 per child per year would go to 53. That is an increase. So be clear, be concise, and please, before you go to any marketplace, before you go to any rally, before you go to any funeral to pronounce yourself, avoid the educational matters being pronounced there.
Okay.
The Jogo House is here, and there are many offices of the ministry. Use those and give concise communication. Guide them. Please prepare them. Tell them, for instance, right now when we are having the challenges of teachers in grade 10, tell them, before they ask you, who is going to be teaching, for instance, the marine and fisheries technology? Who is going to teach the film technology? Who is going to teach the aviation in this? Those are STEM subjects.
Yeah.
Who is? Tell them if those are not going to be activated now in some of those schools. Also tell them there's nothing wrong in telling them that this will not be activated as for now because of lack of the teachers. Because the teachers who are delivering 844, those subjects didn't exist. So you don't have teachers for the music adequate to be spread. So preemptively engage the public. They will understand.
Okay.
But if you keep quiet until they start raising, it is hue and cry, and there'll be a lot of heat without you realizing.
Rose, speaking from where Boaz has left, do you believe from where you sit from the Kenya Private Schools Association, do you believe that there was adequate public communication? And he has pointed out quite gaping holes in regards to how communication and any information coming from the ministry on how these schools should be run, and especially when we are transiting to grade 10. Do you believe there have been adequate information, communication?
Personally, I believe communication was not well done. CBC is a good system, but we were sold the system in a wrong way. Why am I saying this? When we look at other countries like Finland, there is a success story. When we look at Australia, New Zealand, these are success stories. Come to East Africa, Rwanda is doing very well in terms of CBC. And CBC was implemented in Rwanda in 2015, while it is performing very well. So questions are, how comes then, as a country, we are still struggling to implement this whole system? Even though there are justifiable reasons why we are still struggling, I believe that the government has not put in much to just ensure that this information goes out well. Looking at a country like Philippines, looking at the Singapore that we desire to be like, even though they don't term their system as CBC, but they use CBC approaches in their learning, critical thinking, collaboration, communication, all these are incorporated in their learning. However, we look at the beginning when this system came upon, there was a great misunderstanding and resistance, and this was seen in the parents. Why? Because the communication was poorly done, and secondly, they believed that CBC was a way of ripping off the parents, where the projects were too costly. And I think that is why now the president moved to come up with the Presidential Working Party on Education Reforms to just check in what then do we need to do as a country to ensure that this whole thing is well communicated and propose ways through which we can make this system better. But even after that, we still see some hitches in terms of what is being done as a nation, and I believe that it calls for a concerted effort to just ensure that this system is a success. And apart from that, as a nation, we see that the country probably maybe just involving all stakeholders, you know, in all this. How much are stakeholders involved or engaged? Are we just release probably circulars for us to comply with? So it is important that the ministry then provides or brings on board all the stakeholders to ensure that this communication is well done, and then there is a buy-in for all the stakeholders in what exactly is happening.
And what role does private schools play in senior secondary education? And I'm mentioning this because I'm sure the many challenges we have in the public schools, we have challenges in the private sector, but not as much as we have in the public sector.
I can tell you, we equally just go through challenges as private schools, because we realize that CBC is not a cheap affair. And I always say education is not a cheap affair. And everyone should be intentional about investing in education. As Kenya Private Schools Association, we have gone forward to invest heavily in infrastructure, facilities and learning materials, training teachers to just ensure that senior school is a success. And we did not start this preparation today. We start this preparation where we had a conversation towards junior school. When we did have an understanding, so will there be a standalone junior school? Will senior school be a standalone? And as institutions, we went forward and invested heavily, one in laboratories, in ICT facilities, and also in classrooms, training of our teachers. Right? We do not want to just wait for the government to go forward and train on our behalf. We also go forward and ensure that the training is well done so that our teachers are prepared to take up the senior school. Job shadowing. We ensure that our children are exposed to job shadowing. And we don't have to wait for them to come here. We also bring experts on board to just let the child know, when I desire to be a pilot, what does a pilot look like? This is all that we do as private schools to just ensure that senior school is a reality and not just a talk.
Boaz, some strong words from Rose there. And from the private, and we have the private and the public. I'm looking at how these grade 10 placement, just like some parents have mentioned, it could widen the gap between the rich and the poor. And how can we ensure that the equity red flags are not there? Because let's be very honest, if you go to the 844, of which I believe we both went through, you see that there were some differences between the private and the public schools.
Let me tell you one thing that has happened even in the past. The system before 844, which was a 7423, at the higher level, right from the 4 and 2, you'd find that the public schools were thriving so well. They were thriving very well. In fact, even the private schools were strategically placing their students to apply for those high schools. And this happened even within the 844. At the foundational and primary level, you find that the private schools, yes, almost everybody feels that that's where quality is. But at the high school, people are looking for the Maryhill, the Kenya Science, the Alliance, you know, those kind of things. What is the difference? Is because the investments were being made in those schools. And those investments is what was turning them around. Unfortunately, it appears that we had forgotten to bring other schools to the status or the same level as this until CBC now is confronting us with the reality. Because let me tell you, look at the students who have joined starting yesterday. Those majority are supposed to be doing STEM. I want to take you just through some of the STEM subjects, the new ones, which are there. Of course, but let me just read all of them. Biology is there, chemistry is there, physics is there, general science is there, agriculture is there, computer science or studies is there, home science, aviation, building construction, electricity, metalwork, power mechanics, wood technology, media technology, marine and fisheries tech. You get those subjects?
Yeah.
We are going to be in deep trouble because the teachers to deliver those are now not in the public education space. The private schools had already seen this and they are preparing their teachers. And this is what we've been saying. So why it takes us so long to realize that we need to prepare ahead of time, I don't know, and that's why I was saying that the minister of the CS should be forthright and come out and tell us that, okay, colleagues, I think in the admission you saw they were just admitting them, your STEM, but not broken down. In the system before the 8441, which you went through, within that previous system, you would be going to do, this is arts and arts, largely arts school, A-levels, or arts and science, or heavily science, but you'd find that those combinations existed. But even within the science, you'd find there are those who are going to do the MPC, that is maths, physics and chemistry, maths, biology and chemistry, you know, those kind of combinations. They existed and they were joining when they knew that's what they were going to do. As of now, we are appealing to the teachers. I know it is a difficult assignment they have, the high school teachers who are now going to handle grade 10, that you be patient with these young ones. Be patient, why? Because at the junior school also they did not get justice in terms of being prepared and to be enabled to now make a decision whether I want to do aviation. And now that even the school you thought that offers aviation, you've not been placed there. You are in a school called Baronger, which even one laboratory is not been complete, but you're doing STEM there. You must now start checking. Would you be able to do power mechanics there? Would you be able to do electricity there? The school does not even have electricity in the first place, supplying it. So, and I know electrification is going on thanks to the CS who is trying to improve on that. But what I'm basically saying is that let us not bury our heads in the sand now. Let the cabinet secretary be like the one that I'm telling you, yes, we are ready here. Yes, these ones are gaps, but we are struggling to make sure that we are done with them. Let them not tell us about 100,000 teachers. You can be having 100 teachers who are teaching theology. That would not take us. 100,000 teachers who are teaching theology would not necessarily take us to the STEM path. So just demarcate, open up, and be objective. When people raise those matters and they point out and tell you this is where we have the struggles, the gaps, try to see how can we fix it now. You can do an immediate plan, mid-term, and even a longer-term plan. You can even project this in a 10-year kind of a planning so that whoever even comes on board would not be starting afresh. Because always thinking that whoever was there before you did such a shady job that you trash everything and start afresh has also brought us into problems. So can that planning be done in consultation with the stakeholders so that the plans are also not registered and assigned I mean, it's like a legacy of XYZ. No. But those projects and plans are owned by the education stakeholder. that even if there's a regime transition, people will not be saying, oh, the Uhuru one tried to take us this, now that's not good enough, let's now go to this. They are not Uhuru projects, they are not Ruto projects, they are Kenyan projects. Can we do a plan with the Kenyan in mind, the national interest at the center? That would help us to go many places. That would help us to open up and address the challenges that is now enhancing the inequalities we are seeing. The rush that you have seen by all the students to go to only those schools, the elite schools, which have the facility. It's because of the inequality that they are trying to run away from. Because by the end of it all, the summative exam they'll be doing in grade 12, it will not be like, oh, the C1 schools, you'll be doing this level. The C2, no, it will be uniform. So they're trying to get closer to where they can get a lot of content, a lot of material. That is why there's a dash for just these schools. That's why they didn't select the 3,600. You remember the 3,600 schools which they did not select? That's why they didn't select them. So can we just open up and say we are going to prioritize even those schools which were not selected to bring them to some level? But the ultimate goal, which even Elimobora we advocate for, is to ensure there are standards for senior schools in all the public senior schools. That they are able now to follow whichever pathway they want in those schools. But that they can also still transfer, inter-pathway transfer when they join senior school. Because right now, one might be thinking that I just wanted to do metal technology because I love things metallic. Maybe that is where I thought, with physics and other things will take me to engineering on the motor vehicle, electronics, those kind of stuff. But now you realize you're not going there. Can they be encouraged to start small, but seeing that there's some support coming in? I think that is required for the learners to settle and also for the teachers to be assured that they're being helped to deliver on this subject.
That's a very interesting point that Boaz has raised, and it's true when it comes to infrastructure. Well, there are some schools who we can say are quite wanting, and especially the rural ones. Talking about electrical, and the school doesn't have power, talking about aviation, talking about metal technology, talking about some of the subjects that I've seen, computer.
Yes, computer
Not
science.
all schools have computers. And I'm quite sure when we look at the private sector, it's a little bit easier than the public side. Are your members compliant to all these infrastructure needs? And how are you dealing with concerns in regards to high fees by the parents?
Oh, okay, thank you so much. Probably just to maybe make a comment as regards to the government, what the government is doing as regards to standardization of the schools. When all the parents are crying to go to the alliance of care of this world, going to Stare of this world, what is really the cry of their heart? The cry of the heart of this parent is like, Stare has better resources, Stare has a better name, Stare has better teachers, and all these were preferred issues, things that were found in 844, which then CBC is trying to address. And it is important that this is standardized across the entire country, that I can walk into a school in my rural area and get the same quality as I get in Alliance High School or I get in Starehe Boys. However, for private schools do offer, they have different categories, just like I said. We have Cluster 1 schools, which is Kabarak High School, for example, and they do offer different subject combinations, different resources are used, exposure to different learning methods. So we expect, therefore, that these fees cannot be the same compared to a Category 4 school. So as Private Schools Association, we have different categories. We have high cost, middle cost, and low cost. This is just to ensure that we cater for the all the children in the entire public. That we do not have a child saying, I was not able to go to a school because of the issue of school fees. Do we know as private schools, we have schools that do charge a fee as low as 10,000 shillings. But the issue has been a a perception in the public like private schools are quite expensive. We cannot go to private schools because they are charging exorbitantly. But the truth is, depending on the kind of resources that we do provide, then we charge our fees depending on the resources and also on the availability of resources. So yes, our schools are places of centers of excellence and preferred institutions of learning.
Boaz, I know I wanted to ask you this question when we are winding up this this interview, but since she has brought a new angle in regards to that, we to talk about. I remember even the CJ, that is the Chief Justice Martha Koome, once mentioned that if we put all these monies that we have, the 700 billion that you've talked about, the money from the CDF, the numerous scholarships, the numerous funds,
county government.
I think, do you believe that we can provide
those funds are adequate to activate Article 53 of the Constitution.
On the right to education.
The right to free and compulsory education. Basic education. Why? I mean, all this money, all these funds are supposed to be aligned to the needs in those schools. You look at what our legal mechanisms provide, even the Basic Education Act and all that. And maybe, Rose, that is where, when you say 10,000 is a small amount, there are families that are struggling. According to our law, Basic Education Act and the Constitution, basic education is supposed to be free, meaning the state-sponsored, using our taxes, and compulsory, meaning there shouldn't be any child out of school. If those children are in private schools, okay, that's okay. But if they are out there, they can't access anyone, any one of us can pick that child and take to the nearest public school, and they should be admitted. That is what our laws provide for. Where we are at, I think we seem to be having lots of money all over. Maybe the example that is coming to my mind might take a lot of time. But a case where you have resources that these are coming from the budget education, budget on the education vote. We have pointed out the one that are coming through other channels, including the NGCDF, including the devolved government, where the pre-primary and then the vocational training are. But still within there, you've seen them also giving even scholarships and bursaries to high schools and even TVET and universities. In other words, all this money, Elimu Bora called a long time ago, can we structure them and put them in a vote, in a fund that is dedicated just into realizing this basic education, free and compulsory component? That is the dream that Kenyans had. It is a dream which is still realistic and can be achieved. So can we just put that? And can we get to the details also? So that we say each and every learning level, pre-primary, PP1, PP2, how much does it cost to educate a single child? And then you aggregate that. We have the statistics on how many children we have at that level and plan for it. And if there's anything that is confronting us and making us to divert our attention, we forget about that. We still come back to education as a priority and the resources mobilized towards it. We estimate not more than 1.4 trillion can cater for free education from pre-primary to the university. As a Limubora, we've done that analysis. We are saying it is possible. And imagine, with the amount of resources we have right now, all we need to do is first seal the loopholes of corruption. The former president, Uhuru, told us, the fourth president, I think, that should be using the numbers. The fourth president, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, told us that, nyinyi mnataka nifanyaje kwa sababu kila siku we are losing 2 billion shillings. The Auditor General gave us an indication that about 700 billion.
It's a third of our budget.
Yeah, 700 billion is being wasted, lost. Now the accumulation of that. Right now, people are saying even the corruption levels could have gone up. Maybe we are hitting 1 trillion being lost. That money, we seal those loopholes. People should not ask, where does the money come from? Seal those loopholes. We'll have the money. We'll deliver free quality education for everyone. Once that is done, my friend, the economic opening up, the industrialization, the dream of being a first world and all that would be a reality. If you've seen, I think the subjects that I'm happy that they are being placed in the senior school, but they should not be placed just to make the paper look nice when reading. They should be made to work. In other words, we should be having facilities to deliver on marine and fisheries technology. That we should be able to deliver on power mechanics, that we should be able to do aviation, not just in the two schools of Nairobi School and Mangu. No, we should be, I mean, how many, the same, you know, the CSA, not all of us can find spaces in those schools. Yes, it is true. The maximum that you'll have for those schools may be at 2,000. But we had 996. I mean, 1.13 million students who are supposed to be transitioning. So how many, if we only take 2,000, I mean, we are having huge, huge numbers. Let us incrementally invest in the infrastructure and align it also with how are we training teachers, the ones who are getting into the pre-service training right now. Have we seen that the universities have adopted and adjusted to ensure that some of the subject combination now they are offering, like previously they would be offering 2 subjects if you are taking maths and chemistry, maths and physics, and then another paper. But now are we seeing that there are those who are going there to be trained to teach aviation, to teach metalwork, to teach wood technology, to teach power mechanics, to teach, you know, all these subjects which are coming. We must align there. And the moment we do so, even if it is painful now and we do heavy investment, within 10 years, we shall be able to have turned around that situation. But the problem is we are having a problem right now, but all we say is all is okay. All can't be okay when less than 30% is slightly correct. Even the main school, the C1 schools we are talking about, I don't think they have the teachers to deliver on those subjects because they are not being taught. So we can't say all is okay. And please do not give us figures of 100,000 teachers or 76,000 teachers recruited. I told you, you could be having theologians like the ones who import persons with disability to heal. And that would not be helping us. Yeah. Let us be straight, let us be real, let us be scientific. In education, you do not want to guess things. Right. You just want to be scientific, to be professional, and to deliver this curriculum. Otherwise, it will follow the path of the 844, which was very brilliant, and we did not deliver as per the content, the curriculum content that was expected.
Rose, allow me to keep up with the figures, just like Boaz has mentioned in regards to the cost. And some parents are talking about private schools extorting them because it's a new transition, it's grade 10. How are you as an association ensuring that these parents are not extorted by the schools and we make education a right and not a luxury?
Oh, thank you so much. Probably I should make the public aware of why the private schools actually came about. Is we are saying that we want to provide, to seal that loophole whereby there is lack of institutions where children should go to, that no child should be left behind. And private schools are schools of choices. It's a parent's choice to actually choose which institution to go to according to what they offer you as a parent. So therefore, it will be misleading for parents to believe that it's an extortion from private school parts, that the school fees are so exorbitant. We even realize some of our institutions that do offer, on the corporate social responsibilities, they actually offer free learning to our learners. You realize a private school offering over 50% in a classroom, and all these learners are on a free basis learning, no school fees at all. And going back to the issue of free education, even as a nation, probably it is important for the public to also be made aware what is actually free. I came across an interview where a parent was being interviewed on the cost in the public sector, in the public schools. And the parent was outlining what exactly is required for him to admit his daughter in a C1 school. And the cost was coming to around 100,000. This is way lower than what a private school will cost, will charge in a normal setting, or maybe probably a C3 institution and private school. So it is also important for the public to understand how free is free. What do we mean when the public says, when the government says we are offering free education? When we say remedial charges, why are we coming up with these charges? You know, when a parent is expected to pay up to a tune of 120,000. So you realize there's some public schools which actually charge more than some private schools. Yes.
And Boaz, allow me to go back to one of your reports.
Yes.
As Elimubora.
Elimubora, yes.
You did mention that special needs enrollment is below 2%.
Yes.
How is grade 10 placement catering for learners with disabilities?
The statistics is not even made available, and there's nothing unequivocally stating that we are prepared to receive the special need students in our institutions. Right now, it is generalized placement and admission. The few special needs education institutions that we have are already been packed, and indeed they have been traditionally considered. Those are centers where, you know, the Vicar School for the Blind, you know, those kind of categories. When we were approaching the CBC, and based also on the directives that the Constitution gives at Article 54, that you need to have an inclusive education system. Inclusive, let me tell you, this persons or children with disability are our children. They are in our homes. We stay with them. We live with them. The learning that they get right from home is from us, and we also learn from them. So if you separate them all so much, in other words, you want to give them a specialized training, they'll still remain isolated out there, even when we come to the job market, when we come to economic opportunities and all. So that's why the inclusive education principle is paramount. And I like maybe CS and the team here, they are technocrats, understand this concept very well. They would know, because it is a UNESCO concept, it has been developed, it has been tried, and it has been tested. There's institutions that are trying to integrate that fully. They are not, as we speak, doing that. Many of the schools that exist remain as were. Even the new infrastructure that is being developed, you are not checking to ascertain that they are disability compliant or friendly, they're disability friendly. Those are challenges that we're having. But even the teachers, you can imagine that you're having a learner who is really struggling to learn because probably how to communicate, is not able to communicate with the teacher. These are situations, that's where the inclusiveness comes in, so that the teacher is given the support and skills to enable that teacher deliver in whichever environment in an inclusive manner. And the teachers wish all the time that when they are in class, there's 100% attention. You can imagine you are in class and they are part of it, because by estimation, in the country, 5% of our population are people with disability. If 5% are people with disability, it means anywhere you pick 100 people, 5 are people with disability. So cater for that. And the equity principle also, that you start with the farthest in mind. You start with the most marginalized in mind. You start with the one that has been forgotten in mind. After you have done well for them, the rest would fall in place. That is one of the principles in the equity, why it would be helpful to address those. And those are included in the inclusive education agenda. Kenya is part of the consortia of countries that have been discussing this and have been advocating that it be implemented in full, because in the long run, training all these children, after you've trained them, you are not going to isolate them and create job opportunities for them elsewhere. They'll still be working within the system here. So why do you start by this separating? So we need to rethink that suggestion or that principle and see how do we implement it. And now when we are saying, I think the inclusion and the children with disability, but also you saw there are a few cases of misplacement of boys being misplaced in girls' schools.
Yes, that
and
was
vice versa.
Yeah.
Those ones are also things which need to be addressed and done well. I liked what Rose mentioned also, the element of ensuring that any school within the territories of Kenya, any school, you go there, you find that school, you should find the basic parameters that can guarantee quality. And parameters of quality include the teachers in number and in proportion of alignment with the subjects that they are offering. Two, that the infrastructure in place and the curriculum that they are delivering, they have the requisite resources or tools in that school to be able to deliver that. Why that is important is because we are having employment law in this country. Public servants, for instance, you can be transferred anywhere. You can imagine you are closer to a school that was assuring your children on almost everything, and you are transferred. You go with those children, and you get, it's not even a culture shock. I don't know how to call it. But they start asking, Mami, Daddy, ile shule ulinipeleka, ni shule kweli ama ni kwa sababu sijaona hii, sijaona hii, sijaona. Those questions have been real and have been asked. That's why then you'll find that people and the parents tend to release many of those public servants, you tend to release their children to boarding schools early because they don't want that kind of interference. What Eli Mubora has been calling for, that's what we call the standardization of schools, that model. We've given it a name, I mentioned severally, that anywhere you go, let's have a school as a properly set up school. I know the basic education guidelines at least has some parameters that you require, but let there be those standards which are also implemented and enforced by the Cabinet Secretary.
All right, I'm informed by my director that we are running out of time, so I'm giving you a minute each for wrapping up. And especially I would like to ask, what role can private schools play in public-private partnership to improve access to education in Kenya? And also in Arab, what are some of the challenges that you have seen that if at all government, parents and even schools play, we can make grade 10 transition very smooth?
Thank you so much. Let me start with probably the challenges that we are currently encountering as a nation. I'll start with the issue of special needs, and it's actually a sad state of affair in the country that whereas we define these things on the paper, it is not a reflection on the ground. We define that there is need for affirmative action to give preferential consideration for children with special needs and also those who are from the marginalized areas. But you realize that some of the schools, especially in the rural areas, are yet to actually be given capitation. When you walk in some of the rural schools, some of them have not even been provided capitation as of 2025, looking forward to 2026, and we hope that the government then will be able to address such issues to ensure that capitation is actually done on time, and especially with schools that face the issues of special needs. Another challenge that we encounter probably as an education sector, like we have said, is parental involvement and engagement, that the parents should be fully engaged in a learner's affair. CBC is not teacher-centered, it is learner-centered. Therefore, the parent, it is paramount that a parent is made aware of what is my involvement in my child's learning. What role do I play to ensure that the child's learning is a success? And thirdly, probably is communication from the part of the government. How well do they communicate, ensuring that communication is done timely and accurately, so that the public then gets to get information as regards to education. And then policy shifts and changes all the time. There is need for harmony in terms of policy, probably to just ensure that these stakeholders work together when coming up with policies so that there is no back and forth that, of course, then creates a ripple effect of back and forth, wastes a lot of time.
Okay. Boaz, as we wrap up.
Thank you very much. I think quick things. The challenges we are addressing, the government is aware of them. We want to see political goodwill, and we want to see, I would call it read the Riots Act, let the president do that, and ask how can we find it so wrong when we have had all this time to prepare. Two, communication, I wouldn't re-emphasize, that must be fixed. Three, tracking the resources to the need which supports the student. If it is capitation, track those resources. Are they being used to do the right thing? But you also track it from the source. Are they releasing all of it?
And in good time.
In good time.
Yeah.
Track all that. Do not spare anyone. If you do all that, please also mobilize other sectors, other departments to ensure that there's no single child that, as we speak now, is out there selling jugu, being enslaved in some home. No, there are adults like us who won't feel anything, having a small child called a girl as their maid in there. Okay. Ensure that you take decisive action against such offenders so that all our children are in school and learning. And lastly, teacher 1, teacher 2, teacher 3. The moment you do not take care of your employees, then your clients will be in disarray, because your employees will be so demotivated, dissatisfied. The chief employees of the ministry are the teachers. Can you ensure that they are motivated, they are aligned to the subjects they are going to teach? And those that you are now still extending their recruitment as interns, the courts have told you. TSC has got no register of trainees. TSC has register of certified teachers. Deploy them as fully permanent and pensionable. We have the resources to pay them.
All right.
Deal with corruption so that the funds are made available.
Thank you, Boaz. Thank you, Rose. Indeed, that we've been having a candid conversation in regards to the ongoing grade 10 admission 1.13. Students should be placed in a school because, as the Constitution says, it is the basic education is free and should be free and compulsory. That's a conversation that we will be keeping tabs with. But I've been hosting Boaz Waruku, who is the Policy and Strategy Advisor at Elimu Bora Working Group, and just next to him, we have Rose Oteye, who is the CEO of Kenya Private School Association. On our next hour, we'll be looking at the war on drugs and substance abuse. I'll be having someone from NACADA and also from KETCA, which is the Kenya Tobacco Control Alliance. Back in a minute.